Hello, welcome to your 7th tutorial on HTML. Today we'll talk about forms. Forms are basically widgets, checkboxes, radio buttons, other boxes, etc. that we see on websites. So what we're going to do is type in the form tag. And let's create something simple. Also, don't forget to close your form tag. And let's create something simple. So let's type in an input tag in between and type in type =, 2 quotation marks, and text. This means that whatever we write will just be simple text. So in front of it here, let's type in name and a colon. So let's say we want a password as well. What we do is we duplicate this, and for text we type in password. And here, instead of name, let's also type in password. And just to make it look cleaner and nicer on our web page, let's add in some line breaks. So I'll add in 2. And if we save this and refresh our page, we get a field for name and we get a field for password. Okay, so let's write some words in our password field. As you can see, they're hidden, just like passwords are shown on regular websites. So next, let's write another input tag. So type in input and type =, 2 quotation marks, and for the value let's write radio. Let's duplicate this, and before the tags write gender. So here I'll write male, and here I'll write female. And once again, so that it's clearer, we'll use line breaks. We're going to be using line breaks for this whole tutorial. So let's save this and refresh, and as you can see, we get options to choose male or female, and you can choose whatever you'd like. So as you can tell, we can choose both at the same time. So if we want the user to be able to only choose one, we add the name attribute next. So let's add a name attribute right after radio. So type in name =, 2 quotation marks, and type in gender. Let's copy this and paste it here as well. And if we save and refresh our page, now only be able to choose one. So next, let's add some checkboxes. What we do is we type in input, type, let's type in checkbox. And let's say we're choosing between colors, so we can write a color here. So let's write turquoise. And let's duplicate this and change turquoise for olive. And if we save this and refresh our page, we will now get 2 checkboxes. So we'll be able to choose one or the other. So as you can tell, we have many values to add to input type. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's add an option to our web page where we can choose a file. So what we do is we type in input type again, =, 2 quotation marks, and let's type in file. And if we close this and save and refresh our page, we get an option to choose files. So I can add whatever I like. And let's move this down so we can look more clear. And yeah, here we go. We can also have the value image, so let's add in an image to our web page. So let's duplicate this and change this for image. Let's type in src and go to our folder, and let's choose an image. So let's say I want this image, so its name is images.png. So we'll close out of this, and for source we'll just write its name, which is images.png. And we'll save this, and now we should have our image on our web page. And here we go, here it is. So next, let's add another attribute, which is alt. If you remember this, it's an attribute for an alternative way of showing the image. So what we're going to do is type it just after our image. Type in alt, 2 quotation marks, and type in images.png, so the name of our image, and type in title. So this is an image and if we save this and hover over it, we will get our text. So it's basically extra information. So next, let's change its size. So let's come back here and type in width and 2 quotation marks, and let's say I want it to be 250. Save, refresh, and we get our picture much smaller than it was before on our web page. Next, let's create a drop-down list. We do this by using the select tag. So type in select, close your select tag, and in between let's make some options. So option, and let's close our option tag, and let's write something here. So let's say we want colors, so I'll write red and I'll duplicate this 4 times, and we'll change this with, let's say, yellow and pink, and the last one blue. So if we save this, and I will show you this on my web page, we get this, and we get 4 options, so we can choose whichever one we'd like. So next, let's add some multi-line text. So what we're going to do is type in text area tag, and what we'll do is we'll type in a cols and type in 15 and type in rows, 2 quotation marks and 5. This basically just identifies its size. So let's close our text area tag, text area, and let's add in some line breaks again, and let's save this and refresh our page, and here we have it, our field for text, and we can write as much as it would like, and we can resize it as well. So we'll move on to some other values for input type. Let's add in the value color. So what we do is we're going to type in input again, type, attribute, quotation marks, and type in color as the value. And let's close this, and just before, let's add select your favorite color, colon, and let's add in line breaks, and let's save this and refresh our page, and now we'll get this pop-up box, so the user will be able to choose whatever color they'd like. Let's do another input type with the value date. So let's type in date. This will just give us a field for inserting date. So let's close this, save, and refresh, and we'll get options to choose any dates that we like. Now let's duplicate this and change date for time, and we'll get options for choosing time as well. Let's duplicate this again and change this to date time local. So this is how it's written, and if we save this and refresh our page, we'll get both the date and the time together in one box. Next, let's add in an option for the user to write in mail. So what we're going to do is duplicate it again and type in dates in the value area, and type in email in the value area, and let's save this and refresh, and we get this box for email. And just to clarify that it's for email, we'll add in text so that says email here with a colon, and here we have it. There we go. We can add email here. Next, let's add in a search bar. So what we'll do is we'll duplicate this and type in search for the value, search. So we'll just get a regular search bar on our web page. Here it is. This is for searching things. So there's also a value called week. So let's save and refresh, and you'll see what it is. And we get the week, so whichever week it is in the year. And next, let's move on to the range. Next, let's move on to the range attribute. So copy this. So let's duplicate this and delete this part. And instead of email, let's write range. So here we'll basically get a scrubber, which will allow us to choose any number that we'd like. And the default range is from 0 to 100. However, we can set restrictions to it. So I'll show you this without the restrictions first. And when we refresh, you can see we have this slider thing, and it's without restrictions. And if we want to have it with restrictions, we type in min. So this is minimum, 2 quotation marks, and let's type in 3. So the minimum number is 3, and max, type in 9, and step, let's type in 2. So let's save this and refresh our page. And this is basically 2 steps, and it's from 3 to 9. Next, let's add some clickable buttons that we can click to, let's say, move on to the next page or something. So what we'll do is we'll type in input again, type, and button. Then let's add value as the attribute, and let's say click here, for example. Let's close this and save, refresh our page, and we'll get a button to click which says click here. You can add whatever you'd like in the value attribute. Besides this, we also have a button tag, so we can type in button, and we can close the button tag, and in between whatever we'd like to be written on the button. So let's say click here with an exclamation mark, and it's just exactly the same thing. As you can see, it's the same thing. Doesn't really matter which one you use. Next, let's add the submit value. So what we'll do is we'll type in an input tag again, type, 2 quotation marks, type in submit. Then let's write the value attribute, equal sign, 2 quotation marks, and type in submit. And I made a mistake here, so we'll go back and let's close this. Line breaks, don't forget, so it looks cleaner. And if we save this, we'll now get a submit button as well. So this basically defines a button for submitting form data to a form handler. This is a server page with a script for processing input data. We can add a type attribute to button and type in submit, and it will give the same result. So what we'll do over here, we'll type in type, equal sign, 2 quotation marks, and type in submit. So we type in submit here and we give it a name. So instead of click here, let's write submit, and we'll get the same result. See, 2 submit buttons. So next, I'll tell you about a special input type called hidden. We write in the input type section hidden, and let's change this to name, and change click here to, let's say, country, and let's add a value attribute again, equal sign, 2 quotation marks, and let's type in Armenia. And when we refresh our page, we won't see it as it's hidden, so it's using for PHP. So there's another input type which is URL. So let's duplicate this and type in URL here, and we don't need this value attribute. And if we save this and refresh our page, we'll get a bar for URL. So next, let's go back to our select tag and let's make a double drop down list. So after our select tag, what we're going to do is we're going to type in an opt group tag. So we'll be making 2 groups of drop down lists. So type in opt group and close opt group just before your closing select tag, and let's copy this full thing and paste it again down here. And the thing is that we have to have opt group for both of them. So if we want 3 groups, we need to write opt group again for each list. So next, let's add in a label which will label what our list is going to be. So this is colors, so I'll type in colors and I'll do it in capital. I'll close this, and for this let's change our list to a list of countries, for example. So let's say I want to type in USA here, and let's say I want to type in the UK here, France. For the last round, let's write Spain. Now here we open it and type in label equals 2 quotation marks, and in between we'll type in countries. And if we save this and refresh our page and go back up to our list, as you can see, colors and countries are in bold as they're the labels and they're the group headings, and the rest are in normal and they're spread just after the labels. So as you can see, now there are groups within our drop down list. So next, let's move on to another input type value, which is number. So let's go down here and duplicate one of our input type tags, and let's change its name to number. So the value is now number. So now let's move on to another input type, which is number. Let's go up here and duplicate one, and let's change the value from week to number. Let's save and refresh, and as you can see, we get an option to change the numbers, and as you can see, it goes from whatever number we'd like to however many numbers we'd like. And we can also set a restriction to this, just like we did for range. So it's exactly the same thing. So let's copy this and paste it here, and if we save this and refresh, you can see that we can only move from 3 to 9. So the lowest number is 3 and the highest that we can go to is 9. We can change this, so for minimum I can put 2, and for maximum I can put, let's say, 7. And I'll quickly show you this. Here we go, you can only go to 6 and the lowest is 2. And as I put 7, it won't go up to 7 because the step is 2. So if we write 8 and save and refresh, it will now go up to 8. So next, let's go up here and go to our name and password area, and let's add in the pattern attribute. So after text, let's write pattern equal sign 2 quotation marks, and let's type in square brackets, and in between let's write a capital A and to a capital Z and a small a to a small z. So basically this is what the users will be allowed to use on our web page. So they'll be limited to the alphabet, and we write letters in square brackets and we write numbers in curly brackets. So that's these things, and let's say I only want them to be able to use 2 to 6 letters, so I'll type in 2, comma, and 6. Let's save this and refresh our page, and for name, let's say we want something like this, and if we click on submit, it won't let us, and it will say please match the requested format. So next, let's move on to something else. Let's go down to our text area tag, and let's add in, and just after our first text area tag, what we'll do is we'll write some text. So let's say I want it to be hello, welcome to my web page, exclamation mark, and I'll save this, refresh, and as you can see, now in my field for text I have this small text that I've written here, and let's change this so it's more faded. So next let's add in the placeholder attribute. This will basically fade the text so it looks more clean, and let's cut this and place it in between these two quotation marks. And if we save this and go back to our page and refresh, you can see that it automatically faded and it became more transparent. So next let's go back to our password area and let's type in a different attribute, which is max length. This will basically let the user only use a certain amount of letters in their password. So we'll set the number to 7. So only 7 characters will be allowed in the password field. And let's try this out ourselves. And let's say I'm writing more than 7. It won't let me. It will only let me write 7 characters. So next let's add in a different attribute. And let's type in required. This basically won't let the user continue without having filled in any of the boxes. So if we click on submit, it will say please fill out this field, and you can put this after all of your input types or your select drop down lists, etc. So let's continue and let's go back up here and let's type in the input type tag autofocus. Basically what this will do, it will just automatically focus on our name area. It will have a blue line on the name box. So let's go up here and refresh, and as you can see, it's automatically focused on the name field. And you can put this again for all of your other things. So next let's add in the tab index attribute right after autofocus. So type in tab index and equal sign, 2 quotation marks, and type in, let's say 1, and let's copy this and insert it somewhere here, this, and we change the value to 2 because it's the second one, and let's also add it next to email. So paste, and we change the value to 3 because it's the third one, and let's save and refresh. So basically all of you know the tab key on our keyboards, and what we do is after we save and refresh and tap on it, tab will go to the fields that we put the tab index in order. So if we tap on tab, it will go from name to red, and now it should go from our drop down list to the email bar. So here we go, the email bar. So next, let's say we don't want the user to be able to use one function on our web page. We can disable it. So what we do is, let's say we want to disable time. What we do, just in the tag we write disabled and we save it, and it's the time field. So if we save this, as you can see, the time field is now disabled. I can't do anything to it, and I can add the disabled attribute to any of my tags. So moreover, let's move on to the accept attribute, and let's go to one of our input type tags and type in accept. So let's say we want search. Let's type in, so let's go to our file input type, and after file let's type in accept. Let's write in an equal sign, 2 quotation marks, and type in image / png. So if we save and refresh, so if we click on choose file, As you can see, the default will be PNG image. And lastly, let's go to email and type in some random stuff. And if we click on submit, you can see that we have a warning which says please include an @ so it will recognize that there isn't an @ which means that it isn't an email. So thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time.